Hi, I'm Lee Herbert, and in this video I'd like to show you a cool little workaround that I've found to help you use colors to organize your clips and quickly see which clips you're using in your timeline in Final Cut Pro. So as you can see here in this timeline, I've actually assigned different audio roles to my clips to give them different colors. Now the reason why I've done audio roles and not video roles is unfortunately when you change the video roles, Final Cut doesn't take the color that you've assigned to the video role, it shows you the color that you've assigned to the audio role. So it might be a question of, well, why don't you just do that with all your clips? Well, the challenge is that you then have different audio on your different clips, and if it's an interview or something like that, the audio is going to be kind of all over the place. So you can't really do it in your primary storyline. For example, you can see here I've done it with this primary storyline.
I realized that it was a very deep,
and the audio just doesn't work. But in the secondary storyline where you bring in your B-roll, it could work just fine because you're not generally going to be using the audio from your B-roll. So I'll show you an example of, here's a timeline that I've set up where I've used the audio rolls and assigned them to different types of clips in Final Cut to make it a lot easier for me to see what I've used and what I haven't used in my timeline. And the way that I organize this is generally high frame rate shots or wides or mediums or tights. So it's very easy for me. I'll show you that again. I can see very easily that I've used the orange ones. So for example, those could be medium shots, or it could be that particular type of angle that I've used. And I could say my wides are my dark green shots, my high frame rate shots are the purple shots, so on and so forth. So let me show you how you can do this quite easily. To begin with, you want to create an audio roll for the type of name that you want. So I'm just going to select this clip up here at the top of my browser, come down into where it says dialogue, and you get to this by getting to the audio tab in the inspector at the top right hand corner here. Then come down to any of the dialogue tracks, click on the little disclosure triangle. You can see here I've already created a whole bunch of these, but I'm going to create a new one. I'm going to say edit rolls down at the bottom. Then come to where it says audio rolls, and on the right hand side you've got a little plus where you can add an audio roll. It's now added one here, and I'm going to call this, let's call it tight shot. And if you want to change the color, you can just move the mouse over to the right hand side of the audio roll, click on the color wheel, and then select one of the colors selected. Also, Apple, it'd be great if we had a few more options with the colors, like we could use some sort of pastels and things like that, maybe darker, lighter, things like that. And that's as easy as you want. Then click apply, and that's created that audio roll. And now what I can do is I can come over to my browser, and I want to do this by frame rate. So I want to create a particular color for all the 50 frame per second shots that I've got in here. So I'm just going to right click on the menu bar at the top of my browser, come down to where it says video frame rate. I'm going to add that one, and then you can see it's added the video frame rate. I click on it so it organizes all my footage by frame rate, and I'm going to select all of the 59.94 frames per second shots. So I select the top one, select the bottom one, hold down shift, and it selects all of them in between. And then I come over to audio rolls, and this is very important. You must do this over here in the browser. If you do it down here in the timeline, it only applies to the example of that shot in the timeline, whereas if you do it up here in the browser, it'll apply it to everywhere where you use this clip. So come over to any of the audio rolls of the clips you selected, click on the disclosure triangle, and select high frame rate. In this case, I'm going to select this as high frame rate. And that's now applied the high frame rate audio roll to all of these clips. And now any of these clips that I select and then bring down into the, oh God, that's an awful shot of me. Select it, drop it into my timeline, and there you go. It's now come down with the color for high frame rate. So now I know that any of these shots that I drop into my timeline are 60 frames per second shots, and when I'm looking at my timeline, I can very quickly see which one of the clips in here are 60 frames per second, so I can adjust the speed, and I know I've got 60 frames per second in that clip to adjust it. So that's a quick and easy way to apply colors to your clips in your timeline or in your browser to make it much easier to find a particular type of clip in Final Cut Pro.